You know when I realized something in the gaming industry had completely shifted? The moment I launched a new AAA game, and it felt less like a game and more like a corporate presentation running on Unreal Engine. Back in the day, you could boot up a title and instantly feel a vision behind it. Someone took risks. Someone wanted to build something memorable. Now you start a big budget release, and everything feels like it passed a legal safety inspection before it was even allowed to be fun. Everything is smooth. Everything is careful. Everything is designed so nobody, anywhere, might possibly raise an eyebrow. And that's the problem. Games are less and less built like creative works, and more like insurance contracts with ray tracing. The industry calls it broad appeal. I call it flavorless soup. Because when you try to satisfy everyone at once, you end up satisfying no one at all. There used to be designers saying, "This is our game, love it or hate it." Now it feels more like, "Here's a target audience spreadsheet, let's check every box at once." And suddenly the room isn't just full of developers anymore. It's analysts, consultants, marketing strategists. People who probably think a raid boss is something you spray for insects. And then comes the magic word: safe. The gameplay has to be safe. The story has to be safe. The tone has to be safe. Safe often means no risks, no edges, no personality. The result? A AAA title that feels like a piece of furniture you've seen 100 times before. It fits everywhere, but nobody actually loves it. And the industry keeps wondering why players just shrug and move on. Gamers didn't suddenly become impossible to please. They just started recognizing when a game feels like it was designed by committee. You can see the tragedy behind it, too. Most developers actually want to push boundaries. You hear it in interviews. You feel it between the lines. But then reality hits. Meetings, risk assessments, focus groups. Focus groups are amazing at one thing: creating mediocrity. Ask 100 people what they want, and you don't get greatness. You get the smallest common denominator. And that's exactly how many modern AAA games feel. The smallest common denominator in 4K resolution. Then release day arrives. Huge trailers, huge promises, huge marketing pushes. 2 weeks later, player numbers dropping faster than a speedrun glitch. And somehow, everyone acts surprised. Really? If a game looks like an algorithm, it's going to feel like one too. Gamers are not spreadsheets. They can tell when something wasn't built out of passion. And here's the irony. The industry tries so hard to avoid risks that it creates the biggest risk of all: irrelevance. Because the opposite of success isn't criticism. The opposite of success is indifference. No hype, no outrage, just silence. That's where many projects are landing right now. It's almost becoming a pattern. Big studio announces a massive new title. Marketing calls it revolutionary. Consultants polish every edge off it. Launch day comes. Players try it and quietly leave. Then the excuses start. The community is toxic. The audience doesn't understand the vision. The market is difficult. Or maybe, just maybe, the game simply wasn't something players actually wanted. Sometimes the industry feels like a restaurant that stopped cooking for guests and started cooking only for critics. Everything looks perfect. Nobody feels full. Meanwhile, indie games explode in popularity. Why? Because smaller teams still dare to take risks. They say, This is our idea. Take it or leave it. No endless consensus, no sterile identity. Just a game with character. And that's why an indie title can feel more alive than a blockbuster with the budget of a Hollywood movie. And eventually, the boomerang comes back. Players don't vote with tweets. They vote with their wallets. You can optimize a game forever, but if it feels like a compromise walking on two legs, it's going to sit untouched in the store. Then come the layoffs. Not because developers lack talent, but because decisions were made that had little to do with what players actually wanted. That's the harsh reality. Many studios aren't building for gamers anymore. They're building for investors, presentations, and trends that might be outdated next month. Maybe the industry is finally hitting a turning point. Maybe studios are starting to relearn what made games great in the first place. Not perfection, not safety, but courage. The games we still talk about today were never the safest choices. They were bold. They were weird, sometimes completely unhinged. But they had something many AAA projects are missing right now: a soul. And as long as decisions are driven by fear instead of creativity, that's exactly how the final product will feel.